You know, and I could have almost included this one with my last video, but it would have been quite long. And it's it's a little bit different, but still in the same thing. Debt problems, massive debt problems. How does this end? David Stockman again talking here. I just talked, you know, about him the other day with some of his comments, which are valid, you know. And he's got, you know, he's from the Daily Reckoning blog. In Stockman, the Trump reflation fantasy ends on day 100. You know, my first 100 days in office, I'm going to do this, that, you know. It's right. It's about to be here shortly. And again, when he says reflation fantasy, it's simply, you know, markets were tanking, everything was kind of tanking. Election, he won. Oh my God, everyone's riding the, you know, come on, ride Trump train, and ride it. Trump train, man, the markets are up, and he took that. Hey, look, ever since I've been president, markets have been going up since before I stepped in office. When I won, now I'm in office, they're still going. You know, he's using that like, hey, look at me. What is he going to say when they start to go down? He's going to say what he said in the campaign trail. It's the Federal Reserve, which is true, but he's going to take the credit now. Why? He can, of course, you know. Anyways, so David Stockman says, in honor of the Donalds, mother of all balm, the Moab, attack on the Hindu Kush Mountains Thursday, let me introduce the Moad. I'm referring to the mother of all debt crises, of course. David Stockman, absolutely fantastic. The Moad, mother of all debt. Oh my God. The opening round is coming when Washington goes into shutdown mode on April 28th, which happens to be day 100 of the Donald's reign. And I want to say, I've said this probably 2 or 3 times now. I want to say it again because I had a conversation at lunch with Frank Monday afternoon. And he's like, man, too bad we didn't have the damn camera set up. We could have, you know, lunch with Frank and Joe. We had a good conversation today. I was like, yeah, I know. I need to get something going so I can, a couple of GoPros or something. But, you know, we were kind of talking about this too. And I said, you know, Congress has to come back. They're going to fight the debt ceiling. And we got this group and that group. And they want to see this. But if you have a serious crisis like, you know, the prophet Dr. Orua, you know, I see a missile launch from North Korea hitting an aircraft carrier. I then see other ones going to South Korea. You know, if that happens, or anything even kind of close, those congressmen, as in con artists, those congressmen and women will be passing that debt ceiling bill with the highest military budget spending you've ever seen in your life faster than you can shake a stick at it, much less lick it. I'm pulling that one out for this one. I'm pulling that redneck thing out for this one. Faster than you can shake a stick at it, much less lick it. So I want to just say that if some kind of event happens between now and this debt ceiling, and we might even find the debt ceiling thing starts, we only have a few days, and then all of a sudden we pass the days and we're still fighting and arguing over it. The Congress won't make up their freaking mind. They want this. He's not going to give them that. And then the event happened. Anyways, just if some big event happens before they can pass this thing, you could expect them to pass it with flying colors, and it will be massive. It'll probably have his budget, his $1 trillion infrastructure. It'll have the massive increase in the military spending. All on the way to work, all I heard on the radio had, you know, we got Captain so-and-so on the Hugh Hewitt report here, a radio show, and Captain, what's it going to cost us to rebuild our Navy? And, well, we need, 26 more of this and that, and it's going to be, I think it was $37 billion a year more. It's going to take $192 billion over such and such years. And Hugh Hewitt, oh, that's nothing. That's not a big deal. We need a real big reason. Listen to me carefully. We need a big reason to have Congress pass the type of budget in defense spending that Donald Trump wants to pass. But if nothing's happening, how's he going to push for that and get it? It could be tough, isn't it? But if some event happens, oh my gosh, the North Koreans, they did it. They attacked an aircraft carrier of America. Oh my gosh. The prophet, Dr. Orwa, was right. The prophet of God nailed it. Then what do you think those Congress people will do? they'll be running back to the House and Senate as fast as possible, emergency session, pass anything they want. Anything. And we're going to kick and scream, no, or are we? Because they're going to show you, CNN's going to have it on high definition, aircraft carrier burning, smoldering, North Korea, we didn't know they had this capability, but we did retaliate, but yada yada. Oh my God, it's like Pearl Harbor. Oh my God. You're going to be so ready to go to war, like I said the other day. All you millennials need a job, can't find a job, got all this debt to pay back, I'm working bullcrap hours, and I'm getting bullcrap pay. This is not what I signed up for going to college. Oh, don't worry. There's going to be a job for you in the near future. If this goes down, you'll have a good paying job. They pay for your food, your lodging. You're just going to have to pick up a gun and that kind of thing and go fight the rich man's war. But we don't know yet until we see what happens. But as a reminder, in case you didn't hear, we're sending 2 more aircraft carriers over into that region. I do not want this event, should it happen, to be the one where I have to come out here and say, you know, Cliff Hyde, the webbot said, he said I was going to get notoriety for something I said in the past that was going to happen around April or May or something. And I'd get credit for it. Like, oh yeah, Jay Snip's the one who said that. And I saw my video from 2011 talking about this prophet guy saying that. And I had a 4-part video, which only part 4 is available right now at the time. Because that was the only one that matters anyways. That one's still on there. I don't want it to be that. I don't want notoriety for that. Matter of fact, I don't want any kind of notoriety for any kind of doom that I may have ever spoken about, to be honest with you. But I'll have to take it if it comes, unfortunately. So back, I want to get that out there because I feel, again, and people are like, well, we've seen this rhetoric before. North Korea, Iran. Boy, I think this time's different. We need in this country to go to war. That's how we end all economic problems. We go to war. Boy, we need a boogeyman, and there's 2 of them to choose from right now. Imagine that. In theory, this would be just a routine extension of the fiscal year 2017 continuing resolution by which Congress is funding the $1.1 trillion compartment of government, which is appropriated annually. The remaining $3 trillion per year of entitlements and debt service is on automatic pilot. But the truth is Washington can't agree on what to do about either component, except to keep on borrowing to pay the bills. There is a problem with this long-running game of fiscal kick the can, however. Namely, a 100-year-old statute requires Congress to raise the ceiling for Treasury borrowing periodically, but the Imperial City has now reached the point in which there is absolutely no way forward to accomplish this. Moreover, that critical fact is ill understood by Wall Street because it does not remotely recognize that all debt ceiling increases since the public debt exploded after the 2008-9 crisis were an accident of the Obama presidency. That is, surrounded by Keynesian economic advisors and big spending Democratic politicians, he had no fear of the national debt at all, and obviously even believed the more debt, the better. And Obama was also able to bamboozle the establishment GOP leadership, led by former Speaker Boehner, into steering enough GOP votes to the responsible course of action. Needless to say, Obama is gone, Boehner is gone, and the 17-month debt ceiling holiday that they confected on October 2015 to ride Washington through the election is gone too. What's arrived is vicious partisan warfare, a new president who is clueless about the urgency of the debt crisis, and a block of 50 or so Freedom Caucus Republicans who now rule Washington, and good for them. They genuinely fear and loathe the Banana Republic financial profligacy that prevails in the Imperial City, and would rip the flesh from Speaker Ryan's face were he to go the Boehner route and try to assemble a partisan consensus for a condition-free increase in the debt ceiling. What that means is a completely new ballgame in the Imperial City. that will absolutely dominate the agenda as far as the eye can see. That's because the Freedom Caucus will insist that sweeping entitlement reforms and spending cuts accompany any debt ceiling increase. Even moderate Senator Rob Portman from Ohio has legislation requiring that dollar-for-dollar deficit cuts accompany any increase in the debt ceiling. But if you think the GOP fractures and fissures generated by Obamacare replace and repeal were difficult, you haven't seen nothing yet. There's absolutely no basis for GOP consensus on meaningful deficit cuts, meaning the mother of all debt, MOAD, will bring endless starts, stops, shutdowns, slowdowns as the U.S. Treasury recurringly exhausts its cash and short-term extensions of its borrowing authority. In the meanwhile, everything else, healthcare reform, tax cuts, infrastructure, will become backed up in an endless queue of legislative impossibilities. Accordingly, there will be no big tax cut in 2017 or even next year. For all practical purposes, Uncle Sam is broke and his elected managers are paralyzed. The Treasury will be out of cash and up against a hard stop debt limit of $19.8 trillion in a matter of months. But long before that, there will be a taste of the shutdown syndrome on April 28th, owing to the accumulating number of poison pill riders that they will add to the continuing resolution. These include the virtual certainty of riders to the House bill to defund Planned Parenthood and sanctuary cities. Other extraneous amendments will also possibly include funds demanded by the White House to start the Mexican Wall, enhance deportations, and fund some of Trump's $54 billion defense increase. By contrast, the Senate Democrats will move heaven and earth to attach mandatory funding for upwards of $7 billion to fund Obamacare, screaming that without these funds, massive new premium increases will be needed and or more insurance companies will withdraw from the Obamacare exchanges next fall. Unfortunately, such rank demagoguery will also surely gather considerable support from the squishy middle-of-the-road Republicans like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. To be sure, none of these riders have much to do with the multi-trillion-dollar deficit and debt ceiling crisis ahead, but they are just as toxic politically. So when they close down for several days the Washington Monument owing to an inability to reach agreement on a trivial $70 million annual funding item for family planning services, the equivalent of 9 minutes of annual federal spending, or something that Bill Gates could fund out of his cash drawer, it will not only come as a shock to Wall Street. It will also embody a warning that there is no consensus on anything or any real semblance of functioning government in Washington, and that these battles accumulate, the degree of dysfunction will only intensify. Does this not sound like one of the Webot reports I've read recently? The near future, immediacy data showing. Meanwhile, there is another shock heading toward the canyons of Wall Street, namely that this so-called recovery is finally running out of gas. I have no use for the seasonally maladjusted and endlessly manipulated, massaged, and revised data that come out of the Washington statistical mills. By contrast, the data that comes out of Uncle Sam's revenue fare box is an altogether different kettle of fish. That is, no employer in America is paying withholding taxes on payroll slots that do not exist, or sending in estimated taxes on profits that are not happening. Yet, after 6 months of fiscal 2017 has elapsed, two things are quite evident. First, federal receipts in March were down on a year-over-year basis, 12-month moving average, for the fourth straight month. The so-called recovery has deflated completely, and receipts are now heading lower in the manner that has accompanied prior recessions. No kidding. And secondly, the deficit is once again rising rapidly. During the first 6 months of this fiscal year, it totaled $527 billion compared to $459 billion last year, thereby representing a 15% year-over-year gain. And that is something new on the scene as well. The kick-the-can fiscal game of the last 8 years was enabled originally by Washington's false fears of Great Depression 2.0 generated during and after the financial crisis by Ben Bernanke and former Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson, Goldman Sachs Paulson, and after the crisis passed by the glib relief that the federal deficit was steadily falling and would cure itself with the passage of enough time. That delusion is now off the table, at least among the Freedom Caucus Republicans who rule the roost. So again, the consequence will be a hardening of the lines of battle around the mother of all debt in a manner that has never before been seen in the imperial city. As I told Fox Business the other day, it is a stark warning to get out of the casino, i.e. the stock market, before it's too late. Even if you are not troubled by the outbreak of hostilities at hotspots all around the planet, or not inclined to fret about the shocking fact that the Fed is actually contemplating shrinking its balance sheet for the first time in essentially 3 decades, there is still this. The U.S. economy is sliding toward recession, and the chances that the stimulus baton will be handed off to ballyhooed Trump reflation are lower than those of the proverbial snowball in the hot place. On April 28th, reality is likely to come breaking in and finally shatter all remaining delusion, says David Stockman. Of course, it remains to be seen. It's right around the corner. Yeah, it's halfway through the month here, a little bit more. Today's the 17th. Tomorrow you'll see this on the 18th. And add another 10 days, we're at the 28th. Like I said, exciting times. Every year gets more exciting than the previous. Every year, New Year, there's a bunch of stuff happening that you would have thought, we've never seen this before. This has never happened before. I would never expected this to happen. But it's happened. And people think, well, we'll just keep kicking the can. We'll keep kicking the can. Keep thinking that. And maybe they will. Maybe they'll kick it for another few months. Maybe they'll kick it for another year. Maybe 2 years. Maybe 3. Maybe 4. But I've showed you the charts. 1971, 1980. First $1 trillion of debt, okay, and then it just goes so high up, like the whole, like it's off the screen. And then one of the things I said, it took us from 1980 approximately, our first trillion in debt, to the year 2000, 20 years, and I think even then it was, I'm trying to think when George Bush had it, when maybe it was around 6 trillion, 20 years. He took over 8 years. It went to almost 10. Remember, as he was walking out, it went up to 10 trillion. So 6 trillion to 10 trillion. I think that was the number. Somewhere it was 3 trillion, but I don't think it was Bush. So I think it was 6 trillion when he took office around 2000. He was there till 2008, 2 terms. It was when he left, it was 10 trillion. So what happened? It took 20 years to get 6 trillion. It took 8 years to add 4 more trillion, okay? And then in those 8 years, we had Obama come in. His 8 years, 10 went to 20. We added 10 trillion. 10 trillion. That was the other two combined, 6 plus 4. We added 10 trillion in 8 years, in another, not 10 years, 8 years, right? So basically, if you look at the amount of debt being created in the time period it's happening in, it's shrinking, 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 shrinking. So my question is, what happens when it shrinks to time point 0? Remember the old time wave 0 stuff? What happens when it hits time point 0, we'll call it? Then what? How do you fund it? How does it keep going? And I think we're getting close. But yes, could they squeak something out for the next few years? Boy, they put all of us to shame over these last several years. Boy, they've been really kicking this thing along. But there's a lot of stuff happening this year. We got the Economist magazine telling you 2018, new world currency, get ready. So they need to put all kinds of problems in front of us if they're going to try to push that button. And it looks like this year could be that year. We shall see. 10 more days of some exciting things coming up, huh? Take care.